Hey gang, welcome to 19 for 20, episode 1. For the next 19 weeks, we're going to be giving you 19 words or concepts that we hope will help you have more productive conversations about social justice in 2020. Our first concept, implicit bias, also known as unconscious bias. Implicit bias is the idea that human beings are hardwired to make associations between different things in order to help them understand the world, especially associations between groups of people and certain characteristics. A bias simply means to have a personal judgment. The word implicit means it is in our very nature and essence as humans. Every human being is hardwired this way. It's how we evolved. Cave people learned that when the puffy white things in the sky got big and dark, it meant water was going to fall from the sky. And that association between dark clouds and rain helped them stay dry, get drinking water, and grow crops. Associations are hardwired into us to make sense of the world and help us survive. There's a problem, though. These associations aren't always accurate. They're sometimes based on inaccurate information or experiences we've had that were just coincidence or a one-time thing. If people were dancing when rain happened to fall from the sky, those people might begin to make the association that dancing actually brings the rain dance. You get what I'm saying? Even if they are based on personal experience, these associations don't always hold up in every circumstance, and they aren't always based in facts or science. In fact, flash forward to modern day, and our associations, especially the associations we link to groups of people, are influenced by tons of things besides our personal experience. Images we see in films and television, news media, social media, conversations we've had or even overheard, things we learned in school or things we were told by our friends and family. In fact, babies at as early as 6 months can notice different treatment based on race. By ages 2 to 4, children can actually take on the implicit bias of their parents and people around them. Implicit bias is always silently influencing how we see the world and how we shape that world when we have the power to do so. That means that the implicit bias of the largest groups of people or people in power directly impacts the lives of smaller groups of people or people without power. Implicit bias is also called unconscious bias because people aren't always aware that it's there. In fact, a person's unconscious bias may run exactly opposite of what they consciously believe and want to do. They may not mean to treat these smaller groups differently, but they do, and the damage is still real. Look, my brother is left-handed, but he can do a lot of stuff with his right hand as well. And I asked him how he learned, and he said he had no choice. All the desks in class are made for right-handed people. And we only teach people how to write and throw a ball with their right hands. Now, I'm pretty sure the teachers and coaches wanted all the kids to feel welcome. I'm pretty sure they didn't mean to diss the left-handed kids, but they did. And I'm sure that all the dads who've ever yelled, "You throw like a girl," didn't mean to convince their own daughters that they have no place in sports, but they did. And maybe the creators of countless movies and TV shows didn't realize they portrayed so many criminals and killers as black men, but they did. And maybe police officers don't mean to treat black people differently, but they do. These are all messages that we've received unconsciously. But once we become conscious of that bias, we have to make a choice. We either reaffirm it and keep the bias no matter how wrong or damaging it might be, or we can work to change the bias. The same way a martial artist trains their reflexes to go from a flinch to a block, we can change how we react to our own implicit bias reflexes. And if we change how we react to that bias, we might be able to put out more positive images, words, and information so we don't pass that bias on to the next generation. But first, we all have to acknowledge that implicit bias exists. So join me on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific to talk more about identifying implicit bias and how to fight the negative effects of it. And on Monday, check out my boy Alberto Fresa, presenting 19 for 20, number 2, Systemic Racism.